listening to The Bradshaw Boys, a podcast where three relatively grown men binge the iconic HBO series Sex and the City. So dust off those DVDs and grab yourself a white wine or even a Cosmopolitan and settle in. Take it away, boys.
Welcome to The Bradshaw Boys, a podcast where three guys watch their way through Sex and the City for the first time ever, mostly. I'm Cory Cavin.
I'm Kevin James Doyle.
My name is Jon Sieber. And for those of you who can't, if you're not watching the video, I'm recording this in a basement. And it looks like a medieval torture chamber behind me for sure.
I know,
not even a medieval torture chamber. You look like a straight up like gamer / incel.
Well, not an incel, but definitely a gamer. And
that's true. So you're living half a life right now.
I'm living half my truth right now.
Half your truth, yeah.
You're
totally.
You're a volcel.
Voluntarily, you're a volcel. You took a month off.
That's
so
right.
You could be celibate to play games.
I locked myself in my basement and just watching Sex and the City with the bros. What's wrong with that?
Yeah, bro.
I'll tell you guys what.
That,
you know who's not on the podcast today? Lag. We pumped this fucking Wi-Fi up. John and I are living in the same house, and we thought it would be like some weird connection for us to like be together with Cory. It didn't work out. So now, even though we can be together, we're separate rooms, and it's like I think that's a sign of what COVID and quarantine will do to the future. We're just like, it's actually better this way.
Oh, completely. It's like what everyone said. There's like there's an article somewhere that was like, it just talks about like once streaming came in, everyone was just alone together all the time. They're together, but everyone is like in separate rooms watching things, but they're like, yeah, we're in the same house. It's fine. Totally. So I did that last night. I'm home in my childhood home, and I watched one show and my parents watched another show, and we're going to do that tonight. I don't think they're going to watch Sex and the City with me.
I mean, that could be a good thing.
I mean, it probably will be a good thing.
You watched Wolf of Wall Street with your parents, though, so there's no coke. There's no one doing coke out of assholes in Sex and the City yet.
I mean, that's true. I did take my entire family to see Wolf of Wall Street on Christmas Day, and it was the worst decision anyone's ever made in the family. So yeah, there's also that. So we're not doing that tonight.
Hey John, guys, I think I got lagged out right when you were talking about how awesome our internet is, but I'm back. I don't think I missed much.
Dude, I have to say it felt like spring break. Like if we lived in a digital world, which we do now, but if we lived in like the future, like everyone was like cyber all the time and doing digital was a drug, it would be like Kevin and I were at a party and we were like, dude, John's totally lagged out. Like you were completely lagged out for like a strong 20 seconds. We're like, dude, John did too much Ethernet. He's totally lagged out.
It is what it is, but I'm back. And I missed the pleasantries, but that's all right. That's okay. Not a big deal. What else is going on?
Kevin and I kept it going.
Well, I'll say this because it's like, it's fun to just be all fun and games, but we were ragging on Howie last time. Howie and his hardcore, and the day after we watched that episode,
the Jackrabbit,
the Jackrabbit got called out for some.
Jackrabbit got jacked.
He got jacked by some big time allegations.
He did, yeah.
And we got flooded with people being like, "Look," and it was like, that's always a bummer.
Yeah.
But I don't know if there was any sort of typecasting going on, maybe that's just how that dude has sex and he's going around terrifying and harming many people. Maybe, but I mean, it sounds malicious. I don't know. It was just crazy. It was just crazy that that was right at that time. And it's such like it's kind of like it's already a slightly awkward scene. Because he really like, it's to the point where it's like, it's on the edge of not just like, oops, he was rough and I wasn't. It's like, I don't know, if you have a neck ache, that's not going to be a positive memory that you have.
Yeah. Well, I think like Carrie's description of it is she's like, we had sex like teenagers in that I think it's like she says, he had no idea what he was doing and I didn't say anything. And just like, I think that's what she says. I think. I'm not totally sure. And And yeah, it's just like a horribly rough looking scene, but like played for comedy. But you're right. It's very weird that we watched that around the same time that the allegations against that actor.
Yeah, it was like the next day.
I think it was. I think it was.
And
really
I kind
close.
of I made fun of him a little bit, and then that happened the next day. I was like, ew. But
we had people saying that. I mean, like you said, we got a lot of people sending us articles about that, being like, "This is crazy. You guys just watch this." We did have some other people on our Twitter. We were talking about how come no one ever talks about Howie? And someone was like, "Dude, Howie, the character, just looks like he's a flat earther." They were like, that dude's completely a flat earther. And I was like,
he definitely looks like he has like a flat earth YouTube channel, and he's up in like weather balloons trying to like prove that shit.
Well, I feel like the difference between a flat earther and an incel is that like incels don't have like, I feel like a flat earther, they like kind of have the knowledge and the pizzazz. Like you found out like Kyrie Irving, the basketball player, is a flat earther, and it's like obviously not an incel. Like he's a flashy basketball player who like has socially can be around, but then you find out it's like you almost did too much research. I don't know, like an incel. But I think incels are also
they're also like malicious towards other people. They're malicious. They're malicious like towards women, and they're like
online terrorists.
Yeah, they're like it's your fault. I'm celibate. Therefore, I hate you, or I'm going to harm you, or I'm going to kill you. Where flat earthers, although terribly annoying and like conspiracy theorists, they're not out there like hurting anyone other than like I don't know, Pythagoras or whoever it is discovered the earth is
Galileo.
But I mean, I feel like if Sex and the City were made in 2020, one of them would accidentally date a flat earther, right?
Yeah. I'm sure that one of them would date an internet conspiracy person. Yeah. One of them would 100% date someone who was a flat earther, or I don't know, like John, you know more about like the Reddit world than Kevin and I do, but like they would date someone.
Who cares if he's a flat earther as long as it's large and big? Like,
hey, listen, I don't care if it's flat. One thing I do care about is he's got two big round globes below. And they were like, Samantha, does he have a problem with his testicles? They're giant.
Does he have elephantiasis?
I think it's elephantitis.
Tiptoe around this with me and help me organize this thought. There's a playfulness to Sex in the City, and there's a weight to the things that don't take away from like bumming you out about the world. Like moms get breast cancer, and then your friends come to help you. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
You don't have a baby, but something else happens. Like there's hope behind those difficult things they deal with. There's something with sexual assault that the show never necessarily deals with, even though it's clearly such a massive reality within so many people's lives. And I find that interesting. And I wonder if part of that is like, there is something with the dark themes, whenever there is a dark theme, that it's like redemptive in some way, but there's not much redemptive about the knowledge that once you realize like most people deal with sexual harassment or assault in some way, shape, or form. And I'm not saying the show skirted it. I wonder if it's in a different place of like, people still knew that was the case, but it was like, all right, this television show isn't necessarily about that. Whereas now you could not have a show like this without having one episode of a season be about a serious sexual impropriety on a scale that may not be like a rape scene in like The Sopranos had stuff like that, but it would definitely not be like, look at Vogue, he showed me his dick. It would be like the dark version of that is like shows the actual like terrifying nature of it. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I think they do address it in some places, like the guy who videotapes him having sex with models. That's sexual assault.
I know, but that's it's
they don't
always
play it
played
like
for
that,
comedy.
though.
It's all those things are played for.
Well,
Pepper Shaker, Vogue.
It's let's continue the tiptoe. We need
Vogue,
we need a Did you say Vogue? Oh yeah, the Vogue guy.
I just didn't know what he meant at the time, but yeah, it was the Vogue guy.
Yeah. I didn't know that either, but yeah, that makes sense now. Let's continue the tiptoe. We need a Steve Talk type song that has like a more careful beat to it. It's like continue the tiptoe, sticking our toes into a situation that might get sticky, it might get tough, but let's continue the tiptoe.
It's the reality when we realize that we're three white men trying to talk about issues that we have no business discussing.
100%.
We totally have business discussing that because we're the people out there that people think are sexually assaulting people. Not us specifically, but white comedian dudes. Yeah.
There is kind of a thing where you're like, if you look at just the model of the Bradshaw Boys, someone could be like, yeah, the entire thing is a mansplain. It's three guys mansplaining Sex in the City for 100 plus episodes. Let me explain to you what
Sex in the City's really about.
So let me talk to you. Hey, apparently it was written by a bunch of gay men, but it's for women. Let me just tell you what's going on here.
We're just a bunch of samansplainers.
We're a bunch of samansplainers.
I know you guys thought the show was about females' friendship. It's actually about Capote Duncan and how he needs to fuck. Rewatch it. You can actually read between the lines, and we saw it. You never did. Next. That was like my effeminate Bill Maher.
That was, yeah.
I guess my point was,
no, I mean,
like a lot of people talk about how the show
there's going to be a bunch of listeners that finally have a light bulb moment. Sorry, lag came in.
Lag.
What were you saying?
Lag.
Go finish your thought.
Hard.
My thought to finish was that like Seinfeld, Curb Your Enthusiasm, or certain places like that, they don't have Family Matters, Full House moments that are like, oh, look, the family really does love each other. And I wonder if tonally, this show, I believe, could totally tackle those things. I don't think it doesn't age well since it didn't do that. It just shows a wholly different perspective on what we expect of television and what we expect of our comedies that are based in reality that deal with sex, that there's not one of those major things. And I don't think it bothers people because I don't necessarily think you always want that reality entering your life.
Right. I think two things. Like one, I guess it's hard to make. I was going to make the argument that it's like, well, at that time, things didn't deal with this. But you said The Sopranos did, and The Sopranos came on, around the same time. But I think comedies didn't deal with that at that time. And I was listening to the podcast. There's a new podcast about The Office. It's called An Oral History of The Office.
Yeah.
And I think it's Ed Helms. He was saying, he's like, our generation loves seeing like the awkward and humiliation in comedy. And he was like, my parents never got The Office when they watched me on it. They were just like, they were happy for me, but they never got it. And I kind of feel like our generation, or like the generation that's like maybe like a little bit before us or whatever, like you look at girls or Transparent, like both of those are comedies. There's episodes of Transparent where I'm like, good God, this was a comedy? This is like so dysfunctional and heavy. And so like comedy, and like you look at like Judd Apatow movies now, like comedy is a thing that is dealing more with reality, and it's like comedy is honest. And so I think comedies didn't deal with this, kind of like what you're saying, in the same way, and things were laughed off. And also maybe unfortunately too, but like I think this is a lot of what we're seeing now just in culture in general. Culture's just in such a different place 25 years later, where it's like, you have some flat earther jackrabbit on you for 6 hours one night, and then it's like, oh, that's like a funny neck cramp. But now it would be like, yo, hold on, let's stop and let's talk about this. I mean, we talk about that. We did that one episode, I think it's on the Patreon, about the big Carrie elevator episode. And we've talked about that here, where it's like, that's like a major thing where people are like, and like we talked, I think we had someone who's a listener who she's like over 40 or maybe over 50, who was like, I get that's
the hottest
super
scene.
Problematic scene. And she was like, also that was a thing where people were like, oh, that was it didn't translate the same way then. I think that's like not a reason to excuse that at all, but it's just like times have like majorly changed and for the better.
Totally. This was easily the deepest we've ever gotten in
dude, for the
intro, especially pre-show. I know.
I love it.
Pre-show deep.
But
Pre-show depth.
I watched. I had it pulled up. I think the episode's called "Boy Interrupted." Can anyone confirm?
It is called Boy Interrupted.
Okay.
Season 6, episode 10.
Episode 10. Let's watch the episode and come back and chat about it.
Let's do it.
Episode 84. Boy Interrupted. Carrie's high school sweetheart visits her in New York on his way to a mental asylum in Connecticut. Miranda develops a crush on her attractive neighbor Robert, the team doctor for the Knicks. In order to get into an exclusive pool at the SoHo House, Samantha pretends to be a member, and she pretends to be British. And now, back to the boys.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Welcome back
from high school.
I'm just gonna dig right in.
Dig in.
It was really funny how we talked about this show tiptoeing around serious issues, and then this this episode was like the biggest bummer out of any episode I think we've seen to date.
Yeah.
It was really interesting. I mean, that's like I don't know. I would love to talk in more depth about David Duchovny's character being in a mental institution and how they tried to make it funny and it kind of just like was a huge swing and a miss. I don't know.
That's interesting. I would like to talk about that because I don't know if I think it was a swing and a miss.
Ooh, looks like we're gonna have some heated conversation.
Looks like we're gonna fight over Zoom.
The theme of this episode was kind of high school themed. Carrie asks, did we have it right in high school? And everything was high school or like being too cool related. Samantha can't get into the pool at the SoHo House. And so she steals an English woman's identity. Charlotte's storyline is kind of through Stanford's storyline, in that she discovers that Stanford's boyfriend Marcus was an escort in Honcho magazine.
Mm-hmm.
He was playing an escort named Paul. So Stanford is kind of bummed that Marcus wasn't honest with him. Miranda gets tickets to a Knicks game with from Dr. Robert Leeds and ends up becoming jealous of the cheerleader. And lastly, Carrie dates a guy that dates her high school boyfriend who's in a mental institution.
Yes.
And that's what we're working with.
Yeah. Let's we're going to get into more talk about Carrie. Let's go as light as possible to start with.
With Carrie?
No. With the whole storyline. Let's go with Charlotte.
Okay.
Charlotte didn't really have a storyline as far as I could tell.
No,
she just kind of had like lunch.
She had cute pigtails. She had a cute hairdo.
She had
SoHo
a
House.
cute like Princess Leia hairdo going on at the SoHo House. Look, she looked great, and I got to say, in general, this was a pretty solid looks episode. I don't know if it was like an outstanding looks episode all across the board, but like Samantha with the red fan, they all look cute at the pool. Like
Dr. Robert Leeds was just crushing.
Dr. Robert Leeds
the head
is just
bob
always
game.
Smoking it. Head bob game. Also him when he saw Miranda, I think he was in like some red kind of Panama shirt at the mailboxes. He's always slamming.
Let's talk
and
about.
Also, we got to say, we've talked about this. Season 6, the Miranda glow up. Cynthia
fantastic.
Nixon looks fantastic.
Dude, let's talk about the biggest
she's
cock
an
block in
absolute
TV history, Mrs. McAfee. Just
man,
coming in there.
I mean, no.
Interrupting their mailbox makeout session.
Wouldn't it be amazing?
You know that one time in 1960 she caught like back when there's like chaperones. If you had someone over, you had a chaperone. And she just caught someone getting fingered by the mailboxes 50 years ago, and ever since she's right
mad
there
because it used to be her. Her and Robert Leeds were married once, and they broke up.
Is that who he's paying alimony to? Mrs. McAfee?
Yeah. He's paying alimony to her.
Instead of that mailbox McAfee money.
They had one of those.
You used to blast me by the mailbox, and now you just
special delivery, special delivery, Dr. Robert Leeds, completely. Yeah, that's what it used to be. They had one of those apartments where they bought the top and the bottom apartment, and they like knocked out the thing, and now they had to like redo the hole in the ceiling where they had the spiral staircase going down, and they're not together anymore. But in true New York fashion, like they still see each other all the time, you know, their lives are kind of still fused together. So now she's like, oh, just going to get my freaking mail, and you're making out with that that girl here. I guess he got back in the building because
you're going to get your packages when I used to get your package.
I guess he got back into the building. So she was like, he lost the apartment in the divorce. And then he was like, what a crazy thing would be if I just bought back my old apartment, half of it, and then Miranda got it back in.
Wait, what if in the older episode that we thought it was like a veiled reference to race? What if it wasn't that at all?
Yeah.
What if it was just they were all friends with Miss McAfee, and they're like, that is fucking Miss McAfee's ex.
We can't let him in here.
Ex-husband. We can't let him in.
Especially like we've been enjoying a clean and tidy mail area, and that's where he used to just blast her. And if he comes, back, the mailroom is going to become a sexual cesspool again.
Oh.
What if his nickname was Karl Malone, and people were like, why? Because he's black? They're like, no, because he was the mailman.
Special delivery all the time in there.
Special delivery. Hey, you need to be very familiar with 1990s basketball player nicknames to get that reference. But guess what? Robert Leeds is always ready to deliver with these two
man.
babies.
Oh my gosh.
All right,
welcome to the Bradshaw Boys. We have some real stuff to get to in this episode, but we're going to make up our own fantasy about how Robert Leeds fingers 60-year-old women.
Hey, it's the life he chose. Okay, so, but yeah, Charlotte was kind of a side character to other people's stories the whole time. I guess the fourth story was Stanford's story.
Well, I mean, Charlotte didn't have a story. She just straight up didn't have a story. Other than telling Miranda she was a cheerleader and then being a gossip with Honcho Magazine. Where were they eating dinner in Chelsea or lunch?
At the cafeteria. That's right. I had my 29th birthday at cafeteria.
Ooh.
And cafeteria is still going, man. That place.
Yeah.
I went not too long ago. It's you know what? Yeah. It's still going. Still got it.
Then we can get into the separate storylines, which we're about to do. But isn't it interesting that like, when I'm teaching chess and John the same, like when we are teaching chess, one of the things is like, if you do these things, you will do better. And it's not like a rule, like you have to do these things. It's like, but if you don't, it's not going to end up well for you. And I feel like that's the 4 storylines with the girls, like that. It's not this hard, fast rule that we're like, you have to do that or else the episode sucks. It's like when you do that, the show elevates to this level that it just naturally does not get to. And the first thing that we diagnose is like a few of these people were not developed, and therefore the episode seemed to feel fall flat for us in a small way.
It did not fall flat for Cory. Cory, I said swing and miss.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that.
I'm not saying it felt.
I'm talking.
I'm not saying it fell flat.
I'm just kidding. No, John was saying it did not feel flat for me. I'm not saying. I think you were saying it felt the Carrie thing was a total swing and a miss, and I'm not saying it was a complete swing and a miss. I don't think that was a wasted storyline.
I think it was. Well, and this is why it's interesting because we were just talking about this in the header. I thought it was incredibly tone deaf. I think like that story would not have played out. At least I don't think it would have. In 2020 woke culture of like of just like completely demonizing someone for being in a mental asylum.
I saw it differently. I guess we're at the pool of the SoHo House, and let's dive in. No, I saw it differently in that, like, I saw it more as like she started dating a guy that she's like, oh, it's my high school sweetheart. Like, what's going to happen? And then he's like, hey, I'm in a month of intensive therapy and I'm living at an institution, but not really an institution. I'm living at a place where I can leave.
Yeah.
But I'm doing this. And I guess when they broke up and he was like 8 to 10 months, I guess they did play it for more comedy, which that probably wouldn't go over as well. But it did make me think, like, what is the time that you need to get in a relationship with someone? Probably not a month into living. Probably not a month. Probably not like right after a divorce or 2 years after a divorce, when you're living in an institution doing intense family therapy. That is kind of a thing where it's like, oh, that's a huge thing to spring on someone in a relationship, starting a relationship.
I agree with you. I feel like it's easy to get into the weeds with whether something worked or not. I think in general, maybe we can vote on this. Like, I appreciate, like, they can take on anything they want in the show. Any TV show done correctly can take on anything. Like, that's what is interesting about, is like, whoa, I didn't think that would work. And it worked really well. That to me was like a half in, half out. That was like, hey, we're taking on something serious, like a guy in a mental institution. And then there's someone that's like feces. And it's sort of like that. And that to me, I'm like, you can do either of those. It just wasn't executed in a way that I cared, that I thought he was really mentally ill in a serious way, or that I was like, oh, that is the reality. It was sort of like, I didn't take his storyline that seriously. And then I also didn't think the joke is that funny to make fun of. It was like this weird caught in the middle place that I'm like, meh.
The feces thing, I feel like, sorry, John, not to cut you off, but like the feces thing was the thing where I was like, oh, that's like a straight up kind of like hacky crazy person joke, or like hacky person in a mental institution joke. I guess when he kept saying it was like the Cedars or whatever he said it was like.
Something ranch. Canyon
Ranch, which is like a place, I think, where, didn't it remind you guys, like, we recently watched The Long Goodbye, the Elliot Gould movie from the 70s. And remember the place where the guy went who, it was a doctor that was like a quack doctor. It reminded me of that place.
Oh yeah.
But hold on a second.
Wait,
what I was going to say is I took it as, and maybe this is like a different thing back then, how people looked at therapy. And so maybe back then it was like, oh, this guy's at a place. But like, I have known people who have in my life who have like gone away to somewhere to, you know, be like, I got to get some stuff figured out or whatever. And it's not like a thing that everyone does, but I've also known people who've been like, hey, I'm doing therapy like pretty intensely right now. And then I come out of it. So like, because Duchovny was played as such a normal character, I had thought that it was just like, oh, this guy is for the first time in his life being like, I got to figure out all this like tragic family stuff that's happening. And, but maybe in that context, when it aired, it was like, oh, he's normal, but he's crazy.
Well, I think I would have loved just to see a character respond to the news like the way you just talked about it. Like every single character was like, you can't date him. He's in a loony bin. Like, or he's like, he's a crazy person.
Right.
And it's like, I think that's why to me, it was tone deaf, where instead, if like he did the best job explaining it, my issue is how everyone else kind of reacted to it and portrayed it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking back to like, this is what's interesting about the episode. Like, I guess props for taking it on. And then you get into the heavy weeds and then you're like, okay, this is still a comedy. But like, I don't know, the guy who was the alcoholic, that was really funny. But there's also like, that could have easily episode credits roll and you sit down with your friends and you're just like, man, like I've dated an alcoholic and it was fucking dark. And so that's where it's like, I don't know. I think of like some of the moves in Parasite when I think I've probably talked about Parasite on here before, but I'm like that there was some stuff tonally in that movie that I'm like, if it's not executed perfectly, it's like get up and walk out. This makes no fucking sense. And it's just the execution of something like, and then we end up having to talk whether something worked or not, like they should have made up a different story. I think some of that is direction and some of that is just like, if it's executed, or even if there's like one scene that's off, it can put, and especially with something like this where you're used to a certain rhythm this whole time. And then if they switched up too much, you're sort of like, this is not what I'm used to. And so I guess props for them doing it. I just think, I don't think it ended up being as serious or as funny or as interesting as they thought. In some way.
Support for this podcast comes from Sabra. Looking for something a little healthier to throw on the barbecue grill this summer? Sabra Hummus is the plant-based flavor powerhouse that makes great grilled flatbread, amazing elote, and meatless burgers beyond delicious. For these summer hummus recipes and more, check out Sabra on Pinterest.
I don't know.
Let's
I mean,
get more.
I guess
let's get more
way,
granular with the episode rather than talking about it in broad strokes. I would love to like.
This is.
I would love to like talk about the specific storylines, but yes, finish your thought and then let's talk about Miranda.
Then let me say, to be granular about that, I think it would have been infinitely a more interesting storyline if he just got specific about why he was in. He's like, my mom died, and then it spun into all these things because you have nothing to grasp onto. So you're sort of like, are you crazy or are you not? And I think that would have just made it easier to hold on to, but maybe they were trying to say, oh, we don't want to make it's about mental illness. But if you could just wrap it into, there was like nothing to hold on to that character, even though it's like, that is a very relatable thing. I connected with this person and they're different now that they're grown up. And I guess it was a swing and a miss because they made him too broad and you couldn't really connect to like what he was talking about besides being like, things are crazy right now. Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah, I agree with all that. Let's talk about Miranda and her storyline. Going to the basketball game. First thing I want to point out is how incredibly she can never tell Steve that she did this.
Wait,
Steve would
what?
be that she sat courtside at the Knicks game. And brought like
gosh,
Charlotte.
You're so right,
dude. Could you?
I didn't even think
to
about
go flirt
that.
with the fucking hottest guy
Dude,
who's
Steve,
ever been.
This would
on
be
the show.
like. This is what would make Steve check into that institute if he ever found out. Like this is like some serious.
Hey, but I mean, like, it's like Canyon Ranch here. You know, they got a basketball court. Hey, you know what? I found out that hiking is walking.
Yeah, I mean that'll be a pretty deep cut for Steve when they
totally.
find out. It'll be up there with Marcus being in Honcho for sure.
Yeah, totally.
Was there any part of you guys that thought like, did they get Spike Lee in this? Is there going to be a Spike Lee?
There was a little bit
cameo.
I didn't. You know what's funny is I didn't think that, and I almost feel like maybe they missed with that. But like when I was watching, I was like, oh, they shot at a real Knicks game. Like there was some stuff where there was a close up.
You thought they did?
There's some stuff where it looked like they might have in the long shots. In the long shots, they either shot at a real Knicks game, maybe not a real Knicks game, but they definitely shot in, I think, in Madison Square Garden. Maybe they just shot in MSG, not at the Knicks game. But
it's probably in like PS8 high school.
Made me be like, this is.
I'm gonna look and see.
There was a close up that looked really fake, and then there was another one that looked good, and I was already in my head analyzing whether it was real or not, mixed. And I didn't enjoy it.
I thought that the close-ups were not real, and I thought that they got one or two ones that were real. But I guess if you think about like production stuff, that would be stupid to do it two different ways.
All right, so here's my question: what's the deal with the cheerleader? What that cheerleader was giving him some obvious like vibes.
I think the cheerleader liked him,
feeling it. He gave her a big hug, like. Miranda was worried about him being interested in her, and he did everything. Like she was completely justified in her worry. So what's the story there?
No, she's not at all. Let me explain to you something. Okay. This pretend that you're Miranda.
I'm pretending
okay?
I'm Miranda.
And
I'm there with my friend Charlotte. For some reason, she brought.
I'm Charlotte.
Oh, I'm okay. So I'm Miranda. I'm with Kevin, my friend Charlotte, who brought a 1980s gay pornography magazine with him.
Also, I mean, very spot.
It's called Yum. It's called the magazine's called Yum Yum.
Okay, so
it's called Blows from My Bros.
So for some reason, we're courtside at Madison Square Garden. We don't have cell phones, so we can't get distracted by that. But you do have Blows from My Bros or Yum Yum Cum Bums. And go ahead. Tell me why I'm wrong.
And you say what you say about the fucking cheerleader.
I'm really into that doctor. Look how cute he is. Oh, he smiled at me. Here come the cheerleaders. That cheerleader is giving him some serious fuck me eyes and biting her lip, and he's feeling it. Furthermore,
such a lawyer.
It's after the game, and they are talking. She is non-verbally flirting with him. He's reciprocating, and now they're hugging each other. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, Miranda, you don't know that there's actually intense contracts that all of the cheerleaders have to sign, that they will have no physical
hold on a second.
interaction with
Charlotte.
any of the players.
Did you just work at an art gallery and you're going to lecture me about contracts?
I know this because I fucking talked to a cheerleader this one time when she walked past the art gallery, and I was like, look at, where would you come from? She's like, oh, I'm a cheerleader for the Knicks. And she told me that she wanted to be in relationships with the basketball players or any of the staff, but that it's so intensely regulated now that they can't even follow them on social media. If they find out that they DM a player or a staff member, then they are fired, and then they're blacklisted from the entire sports cheerleading community. 100% true.
But
that's why we did this within a skit, but it was
wait, is it true in real life?
Was it always that true?
Yeah, it is true. No, it's probably because they've for exactly why you think that it's like, but you get in huge trouble now, to the point where I talked to a cheerleader for the Rangers, or for the
Do the Rangers have cheerleaders? I guess
was,
hockey teams have cheerleaders. Are they dancing on the wet ice?
They do. They're called the Power Play Girls. The New Jersey Devil ones are called the Power Play Girls because we all three have a friend who used to be the mascot for the New Jersey Devils.
Do they have they have to lay out like a carpet or something for them to dance on?
I don't know what they do.
Sounds like
I think
really
they might
athletic.
just get out there. I think they might just get out there in sneakers and just slip around. I think that's their deal.
Isn't it funny that they're called the New Jersey Devils, and they're giving up such a huge opportunity for the mascot not to come out at like halftime when they're losing and be like, who here will sell your soul for our team to win?
Sacrifice a goat and a pentagon in the halftime.
A pentagram. They sacrifice the entire Pentagon as well. Yeah, they kill everyone from America.
Ministry of Defense. They tie up a goat.
So here's the thing.
I can't. We're going to kill Colin Powell.
Former Secretary of
State. And then we'll go back to hockey.
That's an icing.
Okay,
that's an icing.
So listen, the cheerleaders. It is weird that he didn't say like she has a boyfriend. Like I helped her with a sprain.
What I think. That's what I thought. That's what I thought it was going to be. Instead, he just was like, "Is this in a clear?" And he gave her a little smooch, much to Mrs. McAfee's chagrin.
Like, man, I fucked the. Mrs. McAfee's like, he tried that on me too.
Dude, could you imagine if the scene where he's hugging the cheerleader, of all of a sudden Mrs. McAfee just like put her head in between their hug and just like physically split them up?
Oh,
not here, Robert.
Dude, how great would it be if this show didn't play within the bounds of reality? How great would it be if there was like other times that it's like a love scene between Stanford and his boyfriend, and then in between she's just like, stop kissing in bed. Just
Dude,
like
it's Howie just jackrabbiting Carrie. And she just like appears.
Just be like,
She's like, what are you doing?
what's going on? This isn't going to look good in 20 years.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
Well, okay.
Okay, so like I think
We are in Bit City.
Yeah, we're
which,
hardcore
listen,
in Bit City
that's-
right now.
But I will say, with this, it was a weird jealousy thing, but it does make sense because I do think Miranda, even though she is a fucking smoke show this season, I think it does point to some of Miranda's. She finds her worth not in just this person flirting with her from her looks. She finds it in like her work, and she doesn't really have a moment to kind of be like, I'm a lawyer. I'm the shit. Like, this is where I am. So she is out of her comfort zone in a way that I think it kind of does smartly play with like her insecurities.
And this guy has really seen her in like mom land all the time. Every time he sees her, she's like, I figured you'd have plans. And she's like, I'm a mom. So she's always home. Like she's
like, sorry, I have pox on my face.
Exactly. She's like kind of like been desexed a little bit by just being like, you know, like you can't put up that veneer that you have when you're like trying to impress someone. She's like, oh, you've seen the things that I consider that she's tried to hide, like being a mom from other people.
Yeah.
And so then she has to compete with this like 26-year-old Knicks city dancer, so. Are you ready to rumble?
What was the song that they were dancing to, and then later
Rolling on a River, Tina Turner.
Yeah, that's right.
Tina Turner, dude. I've done that.
So my question is, when
I've done that at karaoke.
Go ahead.
I've done that at karaoke, and the next day, just like my neck has been sore, and my throat is sore. I'm just like, I gave it my all on the karaoke floor that night with that song. That song takes all your energy.
That was the same song they played when they were having sex with each other. My question is, do you think Miranda put that on, or do you think that was just background music, like for the show, or do you think that her and Robert could also hear it?
That song is too. You're gonna come too quick if you're playing that song.
Gosh.
Look, if you're fucking to the rhythm, that is a recipe for premature ejaculation.
Well, what if you put it on? Like, what if you put it on after some foreplay and some cash lovemaking, and then you're ready? So you put on some Tina Turner,
dude. I'm just telling you what. If that's on a playlist, the second that song comes on, you got 20 seconds left.
You heard it here first, ladies. If Kevin flips through Spotify and turns on Tina, he's ready for his post-sex cigarette.
He's going into jackrabbit mode at that point. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's just. I mean, she was doing. I think she did put it on because she was doing a.
Yeah, she was like whipping her hair back and forth.
Kind of like his. Yeah, that's true. Kind of like his dance when he was like,
his head bob.
Dude, did you get the GIF we sent you?
You sent of Robert Leeds doing his.
Will you turn that into a GIF?
Definitely going to turn it into a GIF.
For those of you listening, are you ready for our Instagram to be nothing but Robert Leeds bopping his head while watching a cheerleader for the next at least 6 weeks?
If you're looking at the Zoom video.
Oh my gosh. It's so
just he's a so human bobblehead doll. It's amazing.
All right, let's talk about Samantha and the SoHo House. First of all, has anyone been to the SoHo House pool?
Before we get to that,
or pre-log.
No. So there's a thing that we have to talk about that introduces the SoHo House. We can talk about the pool first. I've never been to the pool.
No, I would like to talk about your thing first.
Okay. We are introduced to the SoHo House pool thing by Samantha meeting this incredibly jacked, beautiful woman on the street saying, it's so hot in New York. Mm-hmm. We're spending all our time at the SoHo House pool. Do you know who that woman was?
Kevin spoiled it, so I do.
Yeah,
Baby
Girl.
Spice, Geri Halliwell. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think they did
You're
that?
So unimpressed.
They did that because
No. I knew it. But I don't know if everyone knew it.
I feel like at the time when the show came out, you'd be like, oh my gosh, it's Baby Spice. But
I think that adds up to a lot of elements of this episode that they thought they were pulling out stops for this episode that were crazy. Yeah. Duchovny, Baby Spice.
Yeah. We haven't even talked about Duchovny.
Some budgetary things.
I know. We got to talk about him more.
But would a Spice Girl at the top of their game hang out at SoHo?
Well, she wasn't a Spice Girl in the show. She was just like a friend, right? I didn't think she was playing a Spice Girl in the show.
She looked like a Spice Girl. She looked like she was dressed up to go sing "You're the One That I Want." Oh wait,
if you want to be my lover,
if you want to be my lover,
to become one. You're the one that I want. Wait, are you doing? You're the one that I want. That's from Grease.
we got drunk and watched Grease on YouTube the other day.
You're the one that I want.
So much Grease.
If you got to be my friend, if you want to be with my friends, how does that go?
Oh
if you
my
want,
gosh!
If you want to be with Zuko, if you want to be with Zuko, you gotta be a T-bird.
Dude, I gotta say, the sentence "we got drunk and watched Grease on YouTube the other day." That needs to be like
what else are you gonna do?
Your gravestone.
Dude, we're stuck in a house.
Kevin played Kaneki. I mean, he had to show us the Kaneki scenes that he had memorized.
So it says her name was Phoebe in the show. So I don't think she was being a Spice Girl. I think she was just being like a hot person that would hang out at the SoHo House.
I do think it just shows that it's like this show must have been like, hey, like I bet there were so many people that wanted on this show.
Yeah, that's probably very true.
Because if this was 2002, like when was Spice Girls peak? 1999. So they were still in their peak.
Yeah. Let's hear. I'm gonna look up when Spice World came out.
They were not in their peak in 1999. There's no way.
They were. Well, Spice World came out in 97, the movie.
And I feel like they had to peak before Spice World, the movie, right?
Yeah, that's true.
I'm thinking like 90. I would say like 95.
No,
as a guess.
I think maybe at this point they're still doing stuff, but they're not peaked here. I don't know. I feel like we're all looking on the internet right now.
Peak Spice Girls.
Peak Spice Girls. I mean,
when
Peak
did the
Spice Girls is.
When did they peak?
Girls is "If You Want to Be My Lover."
That has to be super early,
dude.
Wait, what is the?
How much when you were 9 years old did you want to slam your body down and wind it all around?
Let's see.
I never knew that's what it said. Slam your body down,
and wind it all around.
I didn't realize that's what the lyrics were.
Slam your body down and wind it all around.
I never realized that's what it was.
I mean, I think
but I wanted to do it by myself, just playing Twister by myself, alone.
Zigga zigga, man.
A chicka chick.
So bottom line is we're not experts on Spice Girls, but was that at the SoHo House pool? Is that what the SoHo House pool is like? Has anyone been there?
I've never been there.
I don't know.
So I'll say this. I've been to the top of the Empire Hotel. Kevin, you and I have been there before, but I've been to the top of the Empire State Building. You can see all of New York. I've been to the Empire Roof Hotel, which is it's the one in Gossip Girl. Like one of their dads owns it in Gossip Girl. But I've been there in the summer, and they have like the same kind of like pool hotel that only certain guests can get to. And there's like a private bartender, and it's like kind of this scene. You and I snuck up there one night, like last summer. Last year. So I've never been to the SoHo House. I can only imagine it's like that.
Shout out to my Spanish lover, Nuria.
Shout out to Nuria. Freaking great night we had all that night. We got there, saw Jeff Tweedy in concert.
Yeah,
sounds legendary.
Well, but like, so I can just imagine it's like a crazy scene up there, and it's like any scene. You're just like, it's a scene, but also who cares? Like that's what scenes like that are. I feel like.
Well, it seems like this was in that era where that was hip, and I'm like, I feel like that stuff is post hip now.
Yeah,
like I feel like that stuff is just like the people that like those things, at least on television, would be portrayed like if you talked about SoHo House on a TV show about New York now, it would be like, oh, fucking kill myself. It would not be cool, you know?
Yeah.
What would be? What is the SoHo House now? What is the SoHo House equivalent now that for 2003?
I almost wonder if we're going back to that. I almost feel like there was like a time when it was like, oh, get out of here. And that was like maybe like the 2010s or whatever. I sometimes wonder now, like when you look at, I mean, things are so wild right now with, COVID landscape of the world.
Yeah.
But I wonder with like the landscape of New York, that's just like tons of like glass condos that cost $3,500 a month to live in. And there's people that just have a ton of money and go hang and like live super extravagant lifestyles. I wonder if I sometimes feel like that version of living really appeals to people again in New York now, and specifically in Manhattan.
I'm not talking about the way people live. I'm talking about the way people live is portrayed, because people I'm sure Soho House is more popular than it was when it was shown on Sex and the City, but it would not be portrayed on television to the broader public as a cool thing to be like Soho House.
But there's a new hit.
Maybe like Soho.
Like that's how the cycle of popular things works.
I mean, there's a
city.
Dumbo House now. There's a place called the Dumbo House that rose in popularity in the past couple of years. I don't know how cool it is.
All right, here's my issue with,
or maybe it's the Soho House and Dumbo.
Those places would be douchey places with a line.
Here's my issue with Dumbo. It stands for down under the Manhattan Bridge overpass. If you just change it to right around the Manhattan Bridge overpass, you could call it Rambo, and it'd be a hell of a lot cooler to live in a Rambo.
That's a great point.
Am I right?
Dude,
am I wrong there?
You're not wrong at all. Let's hang out in Rambo.
Anyway.
Okay. No, I agree with that. I think that what are places that would be legitimately cool? I'm gonna list. Let's play a game.
Idea. We've been stuck inside for the last 4 months.
I know.
We have no idea. We have no idea.
So
let's.
Guys, you know what's cool? Social distancing and wearing a mask.
That's amen.
That's what's cool. Okay, teach your kids. That's what's cool.
Like cool. I also think that we are not in the social spheres to even know to have any idea what
not at all
those cool places are.
Let me do 5 of these. Okay, the rule is on Sex and the City. Would it be portrayed as cool? Not what we think. What would the storyline be
in 2020
or
in 2003?
In 2020, right now in New York,
in Sex and the City world,
ready?
Right now.
Okay,
cool.
Yes. House of Yes.
Don't even know what that is.
Yes, I think that would be cool.
Explain what it is, Cory. I
have never been. However, House of Yes is like it's like a burlesque / like kind of crazy stage show thing. You know Slipper Room, the burlesque place. It's kind of like that, but where you go to see like sort of elevated, edgy, cool theater. You dress up and see crazy stuff. You get drinks and
dance club
and a dance club. Yeah,
it'd be cool.
Okay, in Brooklyn, out
in
Bushwick.
Awesome. Let's go when it reopens.
The Creek in the Cave comedy club.
I don't know what that is.
It's a.
Is this just a disguised bit to show the world how much of a loser I am?
How much John doesn't know. No, that would not be cool. That would be the episode where Carrie dates an open mic comic who then like she gets in to see how much of a loser world open mic comedy is. I can say that because you and I have been in that world for a long time. And then at the end of the thing, when she dumps him, the punchline is that he writes for SNL.
And guess what? Even if we weren't in that world for a while, it's still the same. It's still dumb and shitty.
All right,
it's
so you're 1 for 1. You got 3
Hudson Yards.
Ooh, I know what that is.
John. You take this one.
They wouldn't like be going there as the cool new thing. They would use it as a background shot of like meeting someone, and they'd like she would meet Big, and you would see the big pinecone fortress in the background.
Although, if I can say a cool thing that I went to there, I went with a friend to the opening, and she was like, not a Carrie Bradshaw, but she was like a big writer for this magazine, and we got invited to an opening, and we went there, and like Tom Brady and Giselle were at a restaurant, and like we couldn't get into their opening party, and like a bunch of famous restaurateurs were there, and it was a very Sex and the City thing at the opening.
Yeah,
I feel like if you ask any New Yorker, like, what do you think about Hudson Yards? They're like,
I'd say yes, that would be featured in the show.
Yeah. So yeah, cool.
The Cloisters.
I've never been to the Cloisters.
Friar Fuck Part 2. Yes.
All right. Number
That'd
5.
be so sick. Number 5 would be number 5. How about the Marriott Hotel bathrooms
In Times Square?
in Times Square? Yeah.
Yes, because it opens up and you can look down. There's like that top spinning restaurant up at the top. And then they had to put grates on the inside of there because people used to jump out and kill themselves when they
Oh my gosh.
That's true. And
That's wild.
a downer, just like this episode. No, I don't think it would be on there. I don't think it would be cool. The Marriott bathrooms, no.
Okay.
I know why you're
There you
saying
go.
it.
Why are you saying it?
Because you used to work in Times Square and like you used to go like take bathroom breaks in those bathrooms, right?
Yeah.
Kevin, I like how you keep on motioning things with your hand as if we're not recording this video as well.
As if we don't also release the
Yeah,
video.
but
of
most
this.
people aren't watching the video. Most people aren't watching the video. Most people are on the audio. And guess what? If you just hop over to our fucking Patreon,
you can see-
then
just-
you can
it's-
see what I just
I'll
did with my
just send
hand.
you the $5. It's Kevin just pretending to perform fellatio on his microphone pretty much the entire time we're chatting.
I was gonna say if you subscribe to a Patreon, you get to enjoy Kevin's wonderful clowning skills.
Yeah.
You get to watch all his pantomime.
You're so stupid. All right. Well, that's it. I know we didn't talk about Carrie's line aggressively. I feel like we talked about it a bunch in the beginning. We didn't necessarily talk about Duchovny, but I mean, I love a D Duchov's cameo.
Two quick questions about D Duchovs.
Yeah.
I feel like real quick. First question: do you think he's coming back?
Like in his career?
No.
No, in the show in Sex and the City.
I
We'll
was
see him
like,
again.
No.
What if the end of the Sex and the City 1 movie where like Carrie and Big are getting married, he just like runs up and is just like feces and interrupts the wedding.
Okay, second question. Did you think we would see more of Duchovny than just this one app from all that you've heard about him?
Yes. Yeah. So maybe he will come back.
Yes.
No, but because it would have to flash forward to like 8 months.
No, I think he's not coming back. I just thought we'd see him more.
Like this. I mean, here's a defense of that storyline, which I did not like it, but there is a thing that's like you get Duchovny, like you get Duchovny. You got to give him some meat to chew on because he's a great actor, and so I wonder if and he was.
Do you think he's ever said that?
He
Do you
did
think he's
make
ever
that-
said that in an audition? I'm Duchovny. You got to give me some meat to chew on because I'm a fucking great actor.
dude. And they're like, fine, you can be in Californication, and then they just made.
I'm
the
sick of
show
this
for
vegan
him.
bullshit. No more Brussels sprouts. You can take the asparagus and shove it up your ass. I want some meat to chew on.
I'm an actor. Give me some fucking meat to chew on. What'd I tell you? I'm Duchovny.
He did have some great acting moments in this episode.
Yeah.
He's Duchovs.
Fuck
feel
you
like-
and your potatoes. Give me some beef. Give me some fat. I want to chew on it.
Hey,
Anyway.
Hey, is this Beyond Meat? I don't want an Impossible Burger. Did you hear what I said? I want a T-bone steak. I'm Duchovny.
I know you gave me one scene to do in this audition. Supersize me.
This is the dumbest shit.
I love how when we do any character like that, we
gosh.
automatically give them this like fake, almost Bill Burr kind of accent. Hey,
Guys.
here's the deal.
Yeah, it's just.
Oh my gosh. Let's rate
don't
this.
know.
Let's rate this episode and just and put it down. Let's just
Burn
put
this to the ground.
Wait, rate this Bradshaw Boys episode? 1 Cosmo.
100%. One Cosmo.
yeah.
Did we blow it? 110 into the thing? We blew it.
Yeah. This is it.
You think wait,
I have a question. John, you're not going to
Oh,
be happy
shit.
about this. so that we don't fucking blow this episode, can we set a timer and do 4 minutes on Stanford and then do Cosmos quickly and call it a day?
Okay.
Clock is set for 4 minutes, but we're doing really fast. We're doing really fast Stanford.
Gotcha.
I'll give you 3 minutes because we can't go over an hour.
Okay.
I think we'd be remiss to not say that this was what we were waiting for.
Absolutely.
For Stanford, like a heavy moment that showed like a lot of beauty in his character and showed a lot of his longing and yearning for true love. And I thought it was kind of beautiful that it was like a lot of kink shaming, sex worker shaming, a lot of that whole stuff of like, what a disgusting thing. And then this person's just like,
that was me.
I was
going
me
through
then,
some stuff.
this is me now. And I thought that was the bright spot of the episode that otherwise I didn't love all of the moves in it, but it was a moment we've been wanting in Stanford for a long time that I thought was really, 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 really beautiful for someone who really gets the fucking wind knocked out of them a lot.
Do you
as
think
a
they're
character.
going to address just how like mean Anthony is? He's just like he's really mean towards Stanford.
I actually don't know what happens with their storyline, but there's got to be some sort of redemption of them as like friends or lovers. And I say that not knowing what happens. I feel like I've heard something happens with them, but there's a thing going on where it's like, I think Anthony in a weird way also deserves a little redemption for how mean he is. He has to have something to soften him up to make him a little more likable.
I think there's going to be a poolside fight and Stanford's going to drown his ass in the Soho pool.
You know what though? My least favorite people to talk to when I'm at a party are the people that are like Anthony, because he's such a great character. We've talked about how much we love him, and Mario Cantone's amazing. But that person they're writing it based on, the person that you're like, hey, how have you been? They're like, how have I been? How have you been? Here's your silly hat, and just like goes on bit city for like an hour, and you're just podcast? Like, fuck off. Like, yeah, I hate our podcast. But no, I do think that, listen, the show is, anytime we get into criticism and people in general get into criticism of the gay characters on the show, I think it's the future and us tread lightly, because this is a show that is created and run by gay men. They know gay male culture than anyone. And guess what? There's a lot of fucking mean
That's
ass
a really great point.
Gay dudes that are in, and that they're like, no, trust me. I know there's a lot of cynical those people are based in reality of the writers that know those people. And especially once you're inside two characters talking to each other, it's like, they can be like, these people I know because they talk to me this way.
I feel like Charlotte would shut that down though. Like Charlotte can't like handle any sort of negative wind in the conversation. I feel like she would just like put the kibosh on that.
Yeah,
she didn't shut it down.
That's we got to go to our Cosmo rating, and we can't defend our Cosmo ratings. These just have to be all natural. That was the bargain that you made, Kevin.
So we can't say anything about it. Okay, go.
No. Yep. 3, 2, 1. 2.75.
2.75 Cosmos.
2.5.
All right. This was you know what? It wasn't my favorite episode, but this was a great chat and chew with you guys. I had a lot of fun.
Thanks. I did too.
Thank you so much if you made it this far in the podcast in general, and in this specific podcast. We love you all so very much.
We do.
If you haven't checked out our Instagram, check out the Bradshaw Boys Instagram. Follow us on Twitter. And if you want more of the nonsense and bits and shenanigans, check us out on Patreon. We got some patrons on Patreon. We're lobbing up good content. We're having fun. We're doing goofs. It's an overall happy time.
If we get $5,000 a month on Patreon, we're going to make a Bradshaw Boys movie.
That's right. You heard it here first.
Cat's out of the bag.
Thank you so much. You all are the best. Later, taters.
Later, taters.
Later, taters.
The Bradshaw Boys stars Cory Cavin, Kevin James Doyle, and Jon Sieber. The show is produced by me, Jeremy Balon, and narrated by Katie Sieber. This podcast is part of the Seltzer Kings Network. Check out all their great podcasts at seltzerkings.com. You can find the boys on their socials at The Bradshaw Boys or on their website at thebradshawboys.com. And as always, if you see them in the street, tip your glass. Thanks for listening.